You might have heard of graphics design. In graphics design, there is a field called UI UX design. If you have heard of UI UX design, then within it there is another field called web design. Web design is a field of graphics design and UI UX design where we focus on creating visually appealing and user-friendly software designs to be consumed on web browsers. If you want to get into web design, there has never been a better time, with many incredible free resources to learn and amazing software to use. In this crash course, I'm going to be giving you a solid introduction to web design by building a complete landing page from scratch, section by section. Throughout this course, we're going to be learning the 6 principles of web design, which are visual hierarchy, alignment, negative space, typography, colors, and contrast. We're also going to be using the free software, Figma, which is a must-know if you are serious about doing any sort of UI UX and web design work. You don't need to be a master designer to follow along this course. You will just need a basic understanding of Figma and a willingness to learn, and you'll get the hang of the rest in no time. If you're ready to become a professional web designer in 2026, then this course is just the right one for you. So stay tuned, as we're going to be diving straight into the world of web design, starting from the very next video. See you there. Before we actually start working on the design, we have to know what we are working on. We have to know the product that we are designing for. And the product that we're designing for in this course will be this. A while ago, I created some tool called Live HTML. It is a technical tool. You don't really need to know much about it. It basically creates an HTML server on the local computer of someone developing in HTML and just hot reloads everything in the code. You don't need to worry about that, but we're just going to be creating a tool, a website for this tool, a landing page for this tool. So that's going to be what we're going to be doing throughout this course. Now, I'm going to be telling you more about the product, and if you're a web developer as well, it might be useful, so you can check it out. I'm going to be telling you more about the product as we go, because you need to know the product in order to create a good landing page. You need to understand it. So here I'm in an empty, pretty much empty Figma file called live HTML with the same name as our product. And I've not done anything. I've just set up the cover here. This will be the logo that we're going to be using. And in order to follow along, perhaps, with this course, I'm going to be leaving the link to this Figma file in the description. But doing so, I'm not going to be able to provide the link right away. Once the whole design course ends, I'm going to be providing the link in the description. So if you're watching this, the complete version, like a couple of hours long complete version of the tutorial, you can find the design file in the description. If not, you can just wait, or I will leave my link in the description, my X link, so you can message me there if you really want to have the design file as it's getting built. Okay, so that's it. Next time we're going to be talking a bit about branding, colors and stuff before we actually move into the web development, sorry, the web design part of things. Okay, that's it for today. Now let's work a bit on the branding. This course is mainly on web design, but it will cover a bit of branding. Not much, but just a bit. I'm going to be giving you a gross oversimplification of the concept. The first thing I want to do in this case is just provide a color and font system, right? Now, I'm not going to be creating a design system. A design system would include so many different things. I'm going to be focusing on the web design itself, so I'm going to be ignoring most of the stuff, and I'm going to be creating a minimal design system as we create the website. But the first thing and the most important thing that we're going to be needing to start is we're going to be needing a color palette. And I've already figured it out. So I mentioned this as colors. I have, as you can see here, I have already some sort of branding going on. What I want to do is I want to just take this I'm going to be having three colors. It's going to be a sort of monochromatic design. The first color would be 11111. That's the dark black color you're seeing right here. Let me reduce its size here. I'm going to be going 32 pixels. Okay. Okay. Then this is going to be the primary black. Okay. By the way, the whole landing page itself would be a dark themed website. So that's why I'm creating this sort of visual. Okay, so okay. What I want to do now is just put this inside of a frame, and I want to give this frame background color of 11111. I will be using variables, but not in this video. We're going to be setting up variables and stuff like that once we actually start the design. Again, it's a brand design system is a very complicated thing, and I'm not going to be covering it to the max in this course. But that's something that's going to be focusing on variables and color styles more. Next up, I need a white color. So F, 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 F. This is the primary white. Okay. Then I'm going to be needing this red color, which will be the primary brown color. So it's ED 1B24. ED 1B24. Okay, now I'm going to call this primary brand. So that's the distinguishing brand color. So the way I want to do this is I want to select everything here, and I'm going to call this first. Okay, let me ungroup it. Okay, it should be one. This is going to be the primary black. Then this, let me ungroup this as well. This will be the primary white, and the background color itself will be white. So, but the content, I'm going to change it to a black color here, full black. And I want to place everything to the bottom center. Okay, this one I'm going to go and let me ungroup this. It's going to be the primary brand. Okay, so at this point, we have set up everything we need in terms of color. Now it's all about presentation. So how do we present this? I'm going to select all three of these colors, Shift A, call them colors, main, maybe main. I don't want any gap between them. I want to go inside of each, and I want to say no gap, but the width should be fill container. Then I'm going to put this right here, and I'm going to drag it out. Okay. Then I'm going to select everything, and the height should also be fill container. Okay. Great. So now I want to go to each element, and I want to give it a 32 by 32 pattern. Okay, some rendering issues here. Okay. Okay. So now I want to go from the lightest to the darkest color. So stuff like this. So this is officially our color palette. I want to maybe select this and just increase the font size just to make it more visible. Okay. Now let's move this down. So after colors, we're going to be needing fonts. So I'm going to be duplicating this. I'm going to call this fonts. And I'm actually going to be using a single font just to make this easier to consume. The font that I'm going to be using, let me just remove everything here. I'm just going to write it out, the font that I'm going to be using. I'm not going to really create a style font display here. That's more presentation. I'm going to be using the PP Montreal, New Montreal. Uh, and this font, it has some good properties here, but it is not actually completely free. Uh, sorry. For personal use, it is actually free if you're making a landing page for your product or stuff like that. Something that has payments included, that's not free. Then you need a commercial license. But what I'm building is free, so it is a free JavaScript library, so it doesn't really matter. I could use this for free, but just make sure to know the font license for what project you are creating. And you can check out the fonts PP New Montreal. There's also another one, New York. It is they have very good fonts. I really recommend it instead of the usual Inter and stuff. And if you have to create this for a landing page for paid products, I really recommend investing in a font that you like. So so it's just PP here, New Montreal. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the background color here red. And I'm gonna be using the, maybe let's make this bigger first. Okay, maybe not that big. Maybe we could just something like this. And for the letter spacing, I haven't decided, but I want to keep it at the regular 0%. Okay, I'm gonna go semi-bold. And yeah, let me just check the contrast here, and it works. It works actually for both black and white. So that's one of the nicest aspects of the font. So I'm just, oh, the color selection, sorry. So I'm just gonna center it here. And this is gonna be our primary font that we're gonna be using throughout this course. Okay, so now we have the colors, the fonts that we're using, and the final thing is the logo. And this is the logo itself. I want to create a separate frame for this. I'm gonna call it the logo. And as you can see, it works for both black and white. So I'm just gonna display it in white here. Now from this, I can have a cover as well. So the cover will be just the Figma file view. So if I just go here, you can see the cover here. So that's it. That's all of the setup we need. And instead of the product, I'm gonna call this branding. I'm gonna rename the page. And that's all of the setup that we're gonna be needing. Next time we can start working on actual web design content. So we're gonna be creating a landing page. We're gonna be making it responsive as much as possible. And yeah, thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye. So now we can officially start working on the actual web design part. And for that, I'm going to be creating a new page. I'm going to call it design. Okay, so let's start with the landing page. I'm gonna click F, and you can see I have some presets here. You can have the presets on your Figma file as well. And I'm gonna choose desktop. I'm just gonna call this landing desktop. Okay, since it's a desktop view, and we're gonna be having one for mobile view. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I apply the background color, the primary background color that I'm gonna be using. And for that, if you return to the branding, you have this dark 1111 color. So I'm going to be applying that. And before I apply that, I actually want to select this and actually want to create a variable out of it. And the best way I think is actually to select everything here. And I can take this and create a variable. Okay. I'm going to call it primary dark. Okay, so again, this is not a complete design system, so the naming conventions might be a bit messy at times, but this is sufficient enough for us to get straight into the design part. So I'm going to call it primary dark, and I'm going to call this just black. And since we don't really have much colors, it doesn't really, it won't really clash. And this, I'm going to call this white, since it's full white. And I'm going to call this primary red, or you can call it primary brand or stuff like that. And if we have other variations, we can apply something like 100 for darker colors, 900 for lighter colors, and stuff like that. So primary red. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to design, and now I can apply the primary dark as the background. Since we have done that, we can just go straight in now. I'm gonna go back here, and I'm going to take this, the logo, and I'm gonna make the logo a component, and I'm just gonna copy the logo, and let me actually replace it here as well with the component. Then we go back to the design and just paste it here. Now again, in order to use this as the logo, this is so big, so let me just reduce it to 48 pixels. This has a good size if I place it something like this. Okay. Before we actually work on anything here, I want to finish the navbar. So we need a navbar, we need a logo in the navbar, we need the links. Most of the time you will need the name of the brand, but since we already have the name in the logo itself, I think that's unnecessary. So we can just go straight into the links. And for example, I'm going to create a single link here. I'm going to start with the home link. I'm going to apply my PP new Montreal font here, and I want to keep it at regular for now, and I'm going to increase its size to 14 pixels. Okay, great. So I'm going to put this inside of a frame, and I'm going to call this frame link. And this frame will have properties like 16 pixels padding on the sides, but 8 pixels on top and bottom. Then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to give it a corner radius of 6 pixels. And I'm gonna also give it a background, and the background will be the same as here. But let me apply a variable to it. We're just gonna change everything to a variable at the end. I think that's better. Let me duplicate this a couple of times. I also need one for documentation. I need another one for GitHub. Spell that correctly. And is it 3 or do I need another one? I think that's it. I also need one for npm.js, which is the repository where JavaScript libraries are being held. Okay, so at this point, I have all of my links, but I don't want them all to have the same visual hierarchy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select them, and I'm going to make them a bit, I'm going to reduce their contrast just a bit. Then since we're on the home, I want to make this obvious that we're on the home. So I'm just going to make this white. Then I'm going to select everything here, Shift A, and I'm going to group them into links. I don't need any gaps in between them. Now I can just apply background color, and I'm going to go with 2 here, which is just a lighter color from the background. And I'm gonna give it 8 by 8. Also 8 corner radius. Maybe let's make this 12 by 12. Looks better. Okay, then I'm gonna go to each of them, and I'm actually gonna remove their fill for now. And I'm gonna go to the home, and I'm going to give it a bit more of visual hierarchy. Maybe semi-bold. Okay, I think it has sufficient for now. Okay, so now this will be our links. I want to go for some sort of modern, hyper-modern style. So that's why I just didn't make them as simple as I usually make links. Uh, I think this is nice. What I want to do is I want to select everything here, and I could make this the primary dark initially, and this should be the primary white. Okay. Then I'm going to need two variables for these. This is low text. I'm gonna call it low text. Again, this naming convention, even I won't really use it in a real project. I'm gonna be using like numbers and stuff for that. But I want to make the use of variables easier for you, and I want to give you a better intuition. So that's why I'm giving them names like this, like primary dark, black, white, low text. Low text, by the way, means low visual hierarchy or low contrast text. But instead, in reality, you would probably just do something like black, uh, 400, stuff like this. But for now, I'm going to just be using low text. And this is light background, so lighter background. So I'm going to call this PG. Hopefully, it is easier to track, right? Because the whole idea of using this convention is for you to read the name and know where they're being used. Okay, so we have the logo, we have the links. The final thing we'll be needing in Navbar is actually the button, the primary call to action. So I'm gonna start by saying get started. And by the way, both the button and the dogs will be linking to the same place. This will link to the quick start guide, and this will link to some other overview parts. But sometimes you have the link and the button pointing to exactly the same website because you still need, even though you have it here, you still need the primary call to action to be the biggest visual hierarchy element in your navbar. So hopefully that's clear. Let me just go back and give it a bit more visual hierarchy by increasing its size and making it semi-bold as well. Okay, great. So now I can shift A and put them inside, and I'm gonna call this the call to action CTA. I'm gonna go with a 32 pixel gap. Since now we don't have any elements other than the text, it doesn't really make sense, but it will in a moment. Then here I'm gonna give it maybe 32 by 16. And if we now apply the fill and I want to use this color, then you will see that we actually have a very simple button. But again, I'm going for a hyper modern style. So I just want to make this a bit more interesting. First thing I need to do is I need to make this black for maximum contrast. Then what I need to do is I want to make this 8 pixel corner radius. So that's like the corner radius convention we're using. We have 8 pixels here. And actually, it's better if I make this variable. And they make this okay, so I'm gonna call it border radius. This is primary border radius. So primary border radius, something like this. And here I'm gonna go inwards to all of them. And the sixth one would be the secondary or inner border radius. I think I'm gonna call it secondary because we might have some other inner border radius as well. So inner border radius. Okay, so now we can apply it here as well. So primary border. So always the border radius, outer border radius should be greater than the inner border radius. That's because as your elements get smaller in size, the border radius gets more influential. So when you get smaller in size, you should also decrease the border radius in order to like minimize the unwanted effect of uh, the corners. Okay, so now we can move on. I want to give this a stroke as well, but I want to select this color and I want to make it lighter. Something like this. Then let me go and make this. Okay, maybe that's too much. 3 or 2. Okay, I'm gonna go with 2 for now. So this just gives it some more interesting parts. Now I need an arrow, so I'm gonna Shift L here, and I'm holding Shift by the way, so that it snaps to minus 180, minus 300, 135, 90 degrees, 45 degrees, 0 degrees. So these are the angles it is shifting to. I want it to be on 45-degree angles. Let me make 24 pixels. This is going to be the arrow accent. Okay, so also I want to go here and I want to round off its starting points. Then let me put this inside of a darker background. So let me use this color. And I think that's nice. Okay. So now I want to give it the inner corner radius or the secondary one. So let me just put this here. Let me just cut it and just paste it here. Okay. Now I don't want it to be this big. So first let me just, I'm gonna give it 8 by 8 padding. Okay, then let me reduce. Okay, maybe 12 is sufficient enough. Okay, 16. Something like this. Now we have a usable button. I really like this button. Okay. It looks nice. It's interesting enough. And the thing you have to, let me call this accent and this arrow. So the thing you have to make sure of is actually that from all of your elements, uh, it should follow that your call to action is the element with the highest level of visual hierarchy. So looking at this, my eyes are directly drawn more into the button than any other element inside of the navbar. So that's what you have to make sure of. Because it's all about guiding the user's eye. The user should be more drawn to get started rather than just seeing the logo or stuff. Uh, okay, so everything here seems to be fine now. I want to take 1, 2, and 3, Shift A, put them inside of a frame. Again, hopefully you're getting accustomed to the auto layout as I'm doing this. And I'm gonna call this the navbar. Okay, so gap also basically means that when we resize it, the gap also resizes with it. The padding should be 24 on top and bottom. Clip content doesn't really matter for now. Uh, okay, then I want to actually go and create a layout grid for it. Columns, and I'm going to use a 12 column system. Now I want to position the content to start here and end here, but I don't really like working with layout columns, so I'm just going to take out my rulers and position them where the starting and ending points are. So around here. Okay. Then I can just go back and remove this. This is completely subjective. I like using it this way, and you can use the layout grid if that's your preference, but it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to make this wider up to the endpoints here and make sure that they are aligned to the center. And let me just remove the grid here, the rulers here. And you can see this is our navbar, which is a very interesting navbar. It's a bit different from a very simple navbar in nature. I really like it. So I like how it turned out. Obviously, I planned this a bit before I started working on this video, but I think I figured some of this right here with you. Uh, yeah, I like this. So just make sure that you can be creative, you can do whatever you want. But after you finish, you have to make sure that there isn't anything clashing with the visual principles. Like everything should be with maximum contrast. For example, let's look at these colors. Okay, they have contrast. Everything should be readable. The proper visual hierarchy should be maintained. alignment and stuff like that should be correct. Okay, I think everything is in place here. I just want to select everything here, go to the color selection one last time, and apply this. It should be black. This one should be primary dark. This one should be primary red. This one should be white. And let's create one last one for this. Let me create a new one. This is gonna be primary. Okay, so light red. We can call it light red. So uh, again, I'm calling it light red just to make it simpler for you. In a real brand design, you would actually call it something like red 900, 800, indicating its lightness. Okay, great. So this is our navbar and everything is trapped. Now, why do we use variables? Think of it this way. Now, if I want to change my brand color or a client asks me to change the brand color, what I can do here is, okay, first let me go here. Okay. Okay, styles. I think it is in color style, not in color styles. Uh, but for example, if I want to change uh, this color to be something else, why do we use components here? I can change it to something like this, and okay, I applied it to the wrong place here. Sorry. Okay, here actually, I could change this to something like this, for example, and it should apply everywhere. And it is the same thing with the actual variables we're using. You change the variables and it should apply everywhere. And I'm not sure why the variables themselves are not coming here. It's kind of weird why they're not doing that. Uh, okay, let me apply this, let me extract this. Okay, yeah. Normally the variables could be edited here. Uh, I'm not sure why they're not currently. Uh, okay. For now, it doesn't matter. We'll look into this another time. Basically, if you change this color, it should apply everywhere. Thanks for watching. I think that's enough for today. We're going to be continuing next time with the hero section. And step by step, we're going to be finishing the landing page. Until next time, goodbye. So let's continue working on the hero section. The first thing I want to do is I want to create a banner on top of the navbar. Now, what I mean by banner is basically I want a way to show the upcoming versions of the plugin. So I want something like a square, a rectangle actually here at the top. And I want to like show the versions, upcoming versions and stuff like that there. So let's start working on this. The first thing I want to do, let me just remove this. The first thing I want to do is I want some text. I'm going to make it some white text because it's pretty important that the user sees this. So let's say, for example, version 2.0 is coming soon. I think this is good enough text. I don't really have the actual versions currently, so it doesn't really matter. But I want to make this a bit bigger. And instead of intro, we're going to be using PP New Montreal. So yeah, okay. And from here, I'm going to keep it regular, I think. And I think this is good enough. Or maybe I could make it 16 just to emphasize its importance. Or maybe 14, I think. In the future, I might have a longer piece of text right here. So I'm going to keep it at a smaller size. So that's this here. So if I'm sure that this text will be small forever, I could maybe make this a bit bigger, but currently I'm not sure, so I'm just going to keep it at 14. Okay, now that I have this, I need a button. I can just grab it from here. Now I don't want to use the same button twice. It's for reasons that, for example, it does not maintain good visual hierarchy, because if there are two identical elements that serve two identical visual hierarchies, then the user won't know which one to click. So I want to just decrease some of the hierarchy of this one. I want to start by reducing its accent, lower, so just a regular button here. From this point, I could just change this text first of all. So I'm going to say learn more about the upcoming version. I'm going to keep it as semi-bold, but I'm going to change the background color from the primary red to be in the white. Okay. Also, I have to make sure that this is our variable white. Okay. Great. So now we have our elements for the banner. The first thing I want to do is I want to take them both, Shift A, put them inside of an auto layout, and say this is the banner. I want to make them auto, but center align them, and I need like a 24 by maybe 16 padding on it. Let me place it on the top left, then make it wider. Okay, it's a good start. It's a very good start. But at this point, I need to give it some separation. I'm going to do that in a way by using this background color. Okay, it seems a bit light currently, so I might change it. Now I want to experiment with some accents here, and more specifically brand accents, something that I can use multiple times. And for this, I'm thinking live HTML and live hot reloading. So I'm thinking something like a Thunderbolt. Now I'm not going to be using this one, obviously, but I'm thinking something along the lines of this. And I've thought of a way of incorporating this in a better manner. So the first thing I want to do is I want to first change this to be a bit dark. Let's go with O3. Okay. O3. That works. That's a darker one, which I really like. It also does not clash by having two of the same colored boxes right along each other. So the first thing now I have to do is I need to just put out a text and just do this, okay? And this now I'm going to use the phone pockets for this, and you'll see where I'm going with this. Then they make sure that the line height is 14. There is no letter spacing. It should be black here. Okay, great. So then I'm gonna go here. First, let me actually select this. Control Alt O. This will make it an icon. And let me just put this here. I'm gonna put it inside of a frame pattern. I'm gonna call this frame patterns. Let me just give it one here. I'm gonna work with the variables later on. 32 by 32. Okay, just to have it there. Maybe make it look a bit more presentable. Then I'm going to select this. I'm going to add a fill to it, 100% fill. And this fill, I'm going to use a pattern actually. And as the pattern source, I'm going to select this. Okay, this gives us something like this, which is interesting on its own, but not exactly what I'm looking for. From this point, I can actually give them some separation. Okay. Like I want to go with like 48 on the X, but I want to keep it as 0 on the Y. Now this will create some Thunderbolt looking situation, which is very nice. But they are too small currently, so I'm just gonna select this, and for the height I'm gonna go 24. Okay, this looks very nice now, but I don't want them to contrast this much, so I'm gonna go 111 perhaps, maybe a bit lighter than this. 222 here. I think this works perfectly. Now I like this pattern, but I don't like how prominent it is, and it might take too much attention. So I'm just going to apply an additional layer of the background here, and it should be 100%. Now this just removes everything that we have worked on, but I need to go to the gradient, and the linear gradient, I want to make it from top to bottom, and I'm going to click this. Then I want to make it both the colors, that would basically make the same color on top and bottom, making it not a gradient. But on the top, I want to go 0%. So you get this fading effect, which is very cool. Okay, so now it's not as prominent as it was previously. Okay, great. I really like the way this came to be. And just make sure the alignment here is correct. Okay, great. Now what we can do from this point is we can actually start working on the hero section. For the hero section, I'm going to start by just creating a headline. My headline would be live reload from the terminal. Okay, now I want to go back to our primary font, and I'm going to go semi-bold here, but I'm going to make it a bit bigger here, 72. The line height should be something like 90% of the height of the text, and no letter spacing. So that's everything I need. I'm gonna make it into 2 lines and center it. I like the way this looks, but I might go and increase the line height to be 95%, just to give it a bit more breathing space. Okay, I want to center it now. And for this, I have actually prepared some icons here. The first icon I prepared is just a terminal icon, and I got this from a Figma community file, but I did some editing primarily on the colors to make it fit the brand. So I'm just going to grab it here. Okay. Again, if you're watching the full like compilation tutorial here, you could probably find this Figma file in the description, and you can get the icon from there for free. If not, as I said, you just have to wait a bit more. Okay, from this point, I'm gonna just create some space. I'm just gonna be using space. There might be better ways of accomplishing this, but for me, I just want to make this as simple as possible. Then I'm gonna place this here, then rotate it just a bit. It has to be random, it does not need to be perfect. Just rotate it just a bit and move it this way. Now I want to close off the space here. And okay, so that works. Okay, so now we have a more interesting header. So I want to take everything and group it. I'm going to call this the headline instead of the header, headline. From this point, I can actually take one of these and just use them for the same purpose. Okay, I'm gonna create a description here, which is a very basic description. It doesn't have to be too long, but it has to describe your product. Since the headline itself must be catchy and not describing your actual product, but the subheadline, you should give the user a sense of what your product actually is. So I'm gonna write host your current HTML working directory on localhost and with live reload upon any change. So I think this is good enough. Every setting will stay the same, and I'm just going to drag them inwards, maybe something like this. And again, central alignment, since everything is already central aligned. Now I can place it here, and I think these two work very well. So as the contents, I'm going to name them the contents. As the content, they really work well. Okay, I want to give it like 24 to 32 pixels. I mean, let's go 32 pixels difference, and we'll see if we need to change it. Perhaps it's a bit too big, maybe 24. Okay, 24 seems to be right. Let me go here now, and I need a button. Now, if I use this button, I can't, as I told you before, I can't have the same button twice, because that's a clash of visual hierarchy. Even though the same button here, both of them do the same thing, they take the user to the same page, but it's still not a good practice. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and remove it from the navbar and change the padding to be 32 by 16. And this will be our button for the navbar. It is a simpler button, but we need more of the attention to be here. This is the button we want the user to click. As the user scrolls, if this navbar appears, then this button will be a backup. Like, it is always there for the user if he wants to click it. But this is where the user's eye should be drawn towards. I'm gonna duplicate this. I'm gonna call this CTA the primary CTA, and I'm gonna have another one. This is gonna be a secondary CTA. And if I group them both, and if I put them inside of a frame called CTAs, then you can see the name convention work. CTAs, primary, secondary. Now CTA stands for call to action, which is what these buttons are. They are a call to for the user to do some action. So around 16, 24, maybe 16 pixels gap. And again, I don't really want the same button twice. This should be go to docs. Docs basically mean documentation, but any developer coming here and reading docs will be very much like, he will know it means documentation. Not only know, but docs is generally a more common word to say instead of documentation these days. So next I want to change this. So I have this icon that you can see here. I changed the color and edited some of it as I told you before, but it's basically the same thing you can do with any icon. If you want, you can actually use this one. Again, Figma file, look for it in the description. Okay. So I'm going to keep it at the color here, but now I have to change some of the colors around it. This button, again, these two primary colors can't be side by side. So I'm going to make this white. And I'm going to go here and I'm going to make this the primary. Right, so now this button is visible. And again, I want to check for the contrast. And as you can see, it is working. So it is in the region where there is good contrast. Okay, great. So at this point, we have all of our content that we need. We can just take this and Shift A. I'm going to call this the main of the hero section. And just let me close this off. This was 24. Maybe this could be like 48. Or maybe 40, just a bit closer. Okay, I really like how this turned out. I want to center it for now. But this is not the final form. Next up, we're going to be working on an accent for the hero section. I want to have like an area showing a desktop and the terminal opened on the desktop working on the plugin. So I just want to show the actual product in action. But that's, I think, enough for this video. Let me just make sure I center it just for my sanity. And yeah. Okay. So banner. Navbar. Let me bring the main down. And next time we're going to be finishing the hero section. There are no more icons. If there are, I'm going to be sure to update you. We just close everything here. Okay, that's it for the hero section. You can take a look at it here. And if there are any questions, please feel free to put them down below in the comments. Thanks for watching. Until next time. Goodbye. Now let's finalize the hero section. Now what we need is to show the product, what actually the product does. And let me just get this up here. And for this, I'm thinking of using some sort of a frame, like a frame covering the full view. I'm thinking it could even extend from the guidelines here. And let's make it 1440, which is the same width as the page. Then the fill should be, let's make it 2 for now. It doesn't matter. We want to change it. Okay, from this point, let me just move this around. This should be maybe 48 pixels from the top. And this should be around the same, 48. But let me extend this so that we can view the whole thing. Now, if you notice that when I do this, when I resize the landing page frame, this also resizes. That's because it is constrained at the center point. So I have to constrain it on the top. And if I do that, it doesn't matter if I do this. But if I resize it like this from the sides, it is still working. And if I don't want that to be the case, I would make it constrained at the left as well. But I would just want it to be centered horizontally, so I won't really change that. So now I can make this longer. Okay, so I have this sort of extension, and I don't want it to extend the full width. I want 1440, then I want a padding from the sides of 32 or 16 pixels. So let's try, I'm gonna go 24 pixels on the sides. So if I do minus 24, that's from one side. So I want to multiply it with 2. So that will account for both sides. So I could have done minus 48 as well, which is basically the same thing. So if I do this and if I center it now, if I resize this again, okay, I mean if I resize this here, it should resize because it is constrained at the center. Okay, so this will be the product view for the hero section. Now, maybe 48 pixels is not enough, so I might do something like 32 times 2. Again, this is the same as saying 64. I just want to write it like this to make it obvious that we are decreasing 32 from both sides, adding with padding, basically. Okay. Still, I'm not really a big fan of this, so 4040 minus, I'm going to try 64 padding times 2. Now if I center it, I actually like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we could also try to maybe go like this. It is possible. I just want to break out of the layout here, just to indicate that it is almost its own section. So I want to give it a corner radius. I'm going to go around 12 points, which will give it this rounded look, but it's not too obvious. Like it's not something like this, which would work in some situations for accents. But for this time, I'm gonna go with 12 pixels. For the height, I'm gonna go something like 720, maybe 360. That's too small. Okay, maybe 480. pixels. I'm not, I'm not too convinced on this, but I think it's a good, uh, for currently. It is good enough. So here it is 48, and I want to push it top here to be 48 as well. Okay, good. So we have our container. Now we need to put something inside of it. But before I actually do that, I want to actually give it a background pattern. And I'm not going to be doing the same thing as we did here with this. By the way, could we try some corner radiuses? And that looks nice, but it's not really the style I'm going for. Okay, so I need a background pattern on this. And this will be some sort of the accent to make this look more interesting. Now, the biggest problem I see with beginners is that they know they have to use some sort of accent, some sort of visual to make the design look better. The problem is they don't know what to use. And it's not really you coming up with something out of nothing. Your actual accents, your visual style should be derived from your branding. So, like, not this branding, this is a very simplistic branding. We just have the font and colors. What I mean is a full, proper branding with visual styles, illustrations, and stuff. Now, for example, what is my branding here? This is live HTML. It's an HTML host preloader. The core concept here is that this software is lightning fast. It makes your workflow lightning fast. The software itself is lightning fast. So speed is the main concept. So again, following from that is lightning. And you can see here, I tried to do some sort of zigzag here. That was the idea of using this. It was a lightning if it wasn't too obvious. So I want to do the same thing here, but with a different style. Here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to take a line, just draw a lightning bolt. Okay, something like this. Then I'm actually going to duplicate this line, and around here it's fine. Let me actually get this out, and from this point you can see it's not going to be a perfect lightning because there is some in reality a perfect lightning should be something like this perhaps, but I'm going to go with this. So then what I want to do is I want to take both of these, make them longer here. Okay, now I want to take a line just across a straight line. Okay, duplicate this line, move it up across here again. Then I want to go into my draw mode in Figma, and I want to select everything here, all 4 components, and I want to go to here which says edit object, and I'm going to say more shape builder. I could have also used M. Then I'm going to click here in the enclosed space. This will create a shape. So I can go back to the design mode. And now if I actually here, I can see that I have a shape. I'm going to call this lightning accent. I'm not sure if I spelled that correctly. Uh, accent. The lightning part, I'm not sure, but it doesn't really matter for now. So I'm going to remove the other lines. We don't really need them. Here as well, these lines, I want to remove them. So we are left with a lightning bolt looking accent. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go here. I'm going to reduce its size a bit, and I'm going to center it inside of the frame product view. Okay. Then I'm going to duplicate this. So a couple of times maybe. I'm gonna group them, and from this group I'm gonna call this accent PG accent, and let me reduce the gap between them. Okay, so now you can see I've created two sets of lightning bolts, the one using the actual shape and the one between the shapes. But that's not really what I want, since there will be some inconsistencies. Maybe that could look nice. Okay, maybe we can play around with this. I'm gonna decrease the width on each lightning bolt. Okay, then I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna increase the number. Okay, then I'm gonna make sure to center everything. Then instead of having strokes, I can remove the stroke and give it a fill. Now, again, even this I think looks pretty nice, like the toned down whites here. And if I was working on another project, I would actually maybe go into the yellows, and this actually looks very nice. But that's not really what I want to do. I want to select this background here. And the problem is that it's not really a container anymore, so maybe not that. So this is 2 so I want it to be darker than this. So maybe 1D, something like this, which is darker, but it doesn't really stand out to me. So maybe we can go 1.9, which is again a bit darker, but not what I want. Okay, instead I'm gonna actually go here, and instead of 2.2, I can use 1.7 probably. Okay, maybe make it a bit lighter, 1C. Okay, and for the 1.9, I could go even lighter, like 2.3. Okay, 2.3, and instead of 1C, I could go a bit lighter than that, 1E. Okay, maybe instead of lighter, I should go 1.9. Okay, okay, I like this pattern. This is a very cool pattern right here. Okay, again, we would have to track these colors into our variable system, but I'm gonna leave that for you right now. I might go back and edit that part. But for now, this is very nice. And I originally wanted to have this be the same size, but looking at this currently, the gap, the white space having its own shape, this looks very nice. Okay, we can move on with this. So we have our visual pattern, and actually I want to maybe just make it a bit more. I want to decrease the width here to be only the width to be like 280, maybe 250. Okay, make sure this is centered. Okay, we can move on from this. Now we need something to be put here that actually has some value. We don't want to just have a background sitting here. We want to show the actual product. And for this, I'm going to use this. So this is a redesign project I've worked on. I'm not sure if I have it on this channel. I've worked on this sometime. I don't really remember, last year probably. And I have it in a web view, which is just I have a website sort of, uh, a MacBook desktop view, and I have the URL, and it's actually vim.com, I think, instead of .dev. So okay, great. So I'm going to be using this, and I'm just going to drag this inside, and let me make sure that it is inside of the product view. So now it is getting cut, and okay, so 480 pixels width might be a bit tight. So let me just go something like 500. 520, 52, or 640 could actually work very nicely. Okay, that's great, but I have to make sure that everything here is in order. We need this fill container height. Okay. That looks a bit different. Let me just remove the web view. Yeah, I'm not sure how much I like this, the elongated version, so maybe I'm gonna return here. I like this, but I'm not sure about the previous one. Okay. Maybe you could have this be smaller so that it fits much better. 24 from the top. Okay. This could work. This has good potential. Should I use a stroke is the question here. Let me see if I could fit in a stroke. Okay, 2.9. That's actually a good number. So it creates enough separation, but it doesn't really stand out, which is exactly what I want. So I'm gonna center this, and I really don't want to work with it, so I'm gonna lock it in place as well as the background. Now I need to make sure I have something indicative of this brand. And if I have something like this, for example, people would assume that this might be a web design service, a web development service. They would assume so many things. So I have to make sure that they know that this is a JavaScript library that host reloads websites so that when you work, you don't have to refresh. So you can just program, you can code however you want, and it will auto refresh for you. Okay, so okay. Maybe we should actually return this just a bit. Okay. So how do we do this? I'm thinking of using terminals. So if you ever used terminals, if I just open my terminal here, for example, you can see it has this shape. And obviously for different sort of operating systems, it is different, but they have the same sort of structure most of the time. So I want to have a terminal like this visible in the website. So let's do this. I'm going to start from indicating that this is a desktop software. So I need these. And I prefer using Mac than Windows just because I think it looks cleaner. It looks much nicer. It doesn't really matter. Perhaps if your target audience is Windows users, you might not use this, but this doesn't really depend on the operating system, so I'm going to use that. Now here, I'm going to close this for now. Next thing I need is some block of text. And let me start by saying terminal. Okay. And here, instead of Microsoft Sans Serif for some reason, I'm going to use JetBrains Mono, which is the default for coding and stuff in JetBrains IDE. So most people are familiar with this in terms of it being used for coding and stuff. So let me go further here, and I don't want this to be center aligned, left aligned. Okay, then I want to indicate some inputs. So for example, the user writes cd:/projects. If you're not familiar with this coding terminology, just ignore it. We're just showing how the software is used. Just think of it like that. Then live HTML. Then from this, an output server running on ports for 300 ... So this is basically how the software works. So I want to show this in terms of a terminal. Now I want to clean this up. I don't want this text to be visible like this. So Let me just take this, Shift A first of all. This will be my terminal. And 16 pixels, maybe, but I want to go around 8, decrease it, half it. Then I want to give it some padding, 16 by 16. And the width should be hard content. Okay, maybe not. Okay, this should be hard content. Okay, now I want to give it a corner radius of 8 pixels, like the same thing we've been doing throughout. And let me just give it a fill of 1, which is the same as the background. And I want to give it a stroke of 2.9, which is somewhere over here, 2.9, the same thing that I've used here. Okay, now I want to change the text. I don't want it to be full white. Instead, let me start by making it this sort of color, B6. Then I want to go and outline these parts, like the commands. And the live HTML, since it is the full product, I want to make sure that the user sees it clearly. And for that, I'm going to use my red color, perhaps. And I don't really like the way this red looks currently. So I'm going to use this orange color, which I think is coming from here. And since you might say that this is not, that won't work because we don't have it in our brand, but you have to remember we have yellow here and we don't have it in our brand. This is because we are showing something outside of the brand. We are showing how the software is actually used rather than show it's not in the context of the website, is what I'm trying to say. So next up, I want to actually go here and I want to make this maybe white or maybe the green color or this color. Okay, that could work as well. And I want to make this white. Okay, I like this one. Okay, so now I want to take this and drag it here. I also want to duplicate this and show another one here, terminal W port, W/ports, with ports. Basically, this software has 2 use cases, so I would just want to outline them both. So you could specify the ports. If you're maybe if you're familiar with web development and programming, this might be a bit more obvious what I'm trying to write. But just ignore it. This is the 2 methods in which the software can be used. Then I wanna actually just drag this down here, just some random amounts. Okay, just to show that this is its own window. Okay, then let me position it. So I want this terminal to be positioned right here. I want this to be positioned perhaps something like this. Okay, then let's Control G, group them, and center it. This is going to be our terminals. Okay, now this looks good. I don't have much problems with this, but we can make it look even better by using glass morphism. Okay, so effects, and I'm going to use glass, but I'm not actually going to make it look like glass. I'm going to be using frosted glass, so it looks something completely different. So let me just make it glass morphic. And for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to decrease the refraction and decrease the depths and increase the dispersion, sorry, then increase the frost, which is very important, then display as well. Okay, this will create a very nice effect here, which is basically a frost effect. Now the problem here is, okay, that actually works, but just to make sure, sometimes I have the light to be difficult, so I'm gonna remove the light completely. Okay, so now we have 2 glassmorphic effects, and I wonder if I could try some sort of noise effects for the background. That could look nice. Maybe if it was in white, and if I decrease it to maybe like 4%, okay? Then I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna call it frost effect. Okay, so I'm gonna create a style for it. So now I can actually just go here, apply the frost effect. Okay, I liked how this turned out. Okay, so now what I can do is, since I have this completed, the hero section is pretty much complete, but I want to show you something. In reality, a user's desktop view would be 1440 by 1024. So I want to actually decrease this to 1024. Okay, so just one more, 1024. So as the user loads it, and obviously it actually won't be like this because there will be the navbar offsetting this a bit, so it will be less. But assuming this is the full view the user will have, okay, this is what the user will see, which is very nice because we have this section which continues downward a bit. Now the user will keep scrolling at least to see the end of this. It doesn't matter how much content you have down there, but that's what we call creating suspension in web design, right? So you create a suspension for the user to visit the next section, from the hero section to some other section you'll be having down below. So from this, let me actually just take the this and take the main. Okay, not everything, just these two. Shift A, and here I'm going to create my hero section. Now I'm going to put it down under the navbar. Not like that. Down here. And I'm going to take these two. I'm going to call it navbar banner because they're not two completely different things. They are basically have the same purpose, in which it is navigation. But I want to just place them together. Okay, great. So this is officially our hero section. I'm really proud how this turned out. It's really nice. I've actually prepared this before coming to record this video. I've worked on this like 2 hours or so. I think I couldn't get any idea. But just remember, if you don't have an idea of how to make something interesting, you could always go back to the branding. Lightning. This is the current branding. And if you're just working as a web designer, it's fine. You'll probably be provided with a brand system, brand visuals and stuff. So that will make your life easier. And if not, just try to think of the product and how you could represent the product in your design. Okay, that's it. We're gonna actually work on a couple of more sections for this website. Really hope you're enjoying the course. I know the viewership recently has decreased. I'm not sure. Uh, Maybe people don't really want to go in web design anymore because of AI and stuff. But I think I really love this, and it's something fun. And I really hope everyone, even developers, could take the time to maybe learn this. Yeah, thanks for watching. We're gonna be continuing next time. Until then, goodbye. So now, since we have finished the hero section, we can move on to other sections. But the problem we're going to face is that you can't really go directly into sections like features, pricing, and stuff. You need to have a transition because your hero section does not give a single information. It just lays out your product, what your brand is. It tries to give as much information as possible while also providing a feel of the brand, but it does not provide a single set of informations. Then we are moving to sections that provide those single sets of information. Like features, for example, it shows features, pricing section, pricing, a footer, just a general uh, view of links and stuff, and contacts for email and stuff like that, right? So each section after this will have will be showing a single section. So now we can't go from this branding, probably like you can call it branding section, into information section without having a transition section. So that's what we're going to be creating today. So for the transition section, it doesn't have to be anything like interesting or super detailed. You just have to create a transition from the hero to other pages. And here's what I'm going to do for this. I'm just going to emphasize one aspect of the product. Like one aspect of the product here is that it could be used on any browser and on any terminal, all operating systems, right? So I want to emphasize that. So I'm just going to take the text from the hero section, okay, and let me write from the terminal to the browser in one press, okay? I want to make this a bit bigger since this will be our focal point. So 96. Let me make this wider. I want to be in 3 lines. This looks good. Okay. Next up, when I have like big text like this, most of the time what I think of is to make most of the text low visual hierarchy, because if we have this much text here, the visual hierarchy will be messed up, as there will be, the user's eye will go to so many different places in this one text alone. So I'm trying to go, for example, something like this, but this is a bit too dark for me. So I want to go, I need a new shade. I want to go something like this. Now, it says that the visibility is not good enough. So I might go something like this, where it's just on the border. Okay, this is visible enough, but it doesn't have too much visual hierarchy. Now I want to go and emphasize these texts, the terminal and the browser, because these are the focal points of the text. These are the high visual hierarchy elements. Great. Okay. Now I also want to like design some sort of interaction where when you hover over the terminal or the browser, actual supported terminals and actual supported browsers pop up. And I'm not gonna do that interaction for the terminal, uh, but I'm gonna show you how to do it for the browser. There won't be any animations and stuff like that in this video, but we're just gonna be designing it and putting it in place. The first thing I need to do is hide this. In order to hide it, I want to go and I want to change the fill of this section alone to 0%. So now it is hidden. Now I have some assets here. Again, I will leave the link in the description for this Figma file. So every asset that I'm going to be using, you will have access to. What I want to do is I want to take everything here and I want to shift its 9:2 width, and most of them are square dimensions, so that's fine. So Shift A, put them into an auto layout. I'm gonna call this browsers. Now I want these browsers to uh, interact in a way where they're stacked on top of each other. So minus 32 pixels seems to be good. I want to put this here. So in place of the browser itself, in place of the text, I want to show it. Great. Okay. So now we have these two items making up the headline. I want to drag out a section and Control G, group them into the headline. From this, I'm going to need additional text. I'm going to take this from the top right here, from the top hero section, and I'm going to change the text. So we are talking about accessibility in different areas, like in different terminals and different browsers. So I want to also highlight how it works on different operating systems. So here's what I'm going to write. I'm going to say live HTML is uh, compatible with every terminal, every browser, and all Windows, Mac OS, and some, and instead of some, I'm going to say most Linux distributions. Okay, just emphasizing that it works on all Windows distributions, Mac OS distributions, and Linux as well, but most of them. So I'm not sure about the compatibility with Linux here, uh, but uh, from what I've worked on, I know it is compatible in Ubuntu and Arch uh, and Debian as well, I think. But I haven't really tested it out on some other maybe niche Linux distros. So that's why I'm including this here, just to be cautious. I don't want to like write out anything that is false. Also, there should be a space here. Now I want to go into the Windows part, and I want to make this white. The Mac OS should be white, and the Linux as well should be white. Then I want to align it to the left, and let me drag it in just a bit here. Something like this. Okay. Now from this point, what I want to do is I want to include a call to action. So I can just take this and I can just duplicate it and bring it over here. Then I want to take these two, put them inside of an auto layout, bottom align them, just position them correctly, and this will be some more information, but this will be the central focus point. And I actually want to include, let me rename this more info or content, I could call it. And I actually want to include as well here, uh, before that, let me reposition this a bit here. Okay, something like this. Maybe minus 24 for it to fill out more space. Okay, I also want to emphasize this word press, and I'm going to do it with the I'm going to show the keyword icon for enter. So you might have noticed that I have this icon here, and I'm going to be using that. Okay, so it's 24 height and 39 width. It doesn't matter the width, I'm just basing it off of the height. Okay, from this point I could put Shift A, center it. Now this is an auto layout frame, and I'm going to call it enter. Now no gaps, but there will be 32, 16, or 24. Okay, let me make it around here, or around 120 by 72. Okay, great. So from this point I can actually give it a fill of 2. Now let me actually put it in. Okay, then I want to give it a corner radius of 8 pixels. Okay, then I want to use a stroke, and I'm going to be using the same style that I have been doing here, in which I have a lighter version. So I'm going to go with around 4 pixels weight, center. Okay, and I want to use, instead of 2, maybe I want to use 3, 4. Okay, something like this. So if I can take this and put it inside of the headline group, and I can position it something like this where it is aligned perfectly. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to go here and say enter. Okay. So then I could position it right here. Okay. Or perhaps I want to have some text that it is roughly as wide as this. So 0, 0, 0 perhaps. So while I'm using 0, I could also use 1, 2, it doesn't matter. But why I'm using 0 is the 0 glyph, which is the 0 letter in fonts, is what it is used in programming languages or syntax languages like CSS to calculate the character width for the whole text. So I think it is better to use uh, zeros instead of other sort of letters. Okay, so now after this, I could move in and just make the zeros invisible again. So now this is perfect. Okay, great. Now I have almost everything done. I just need to position it in a way that it makes sense as a section. And for this, since I most of the time I like to use transition sections with full background cover. Okay, so I'm gonna take these two, put them inside of a frame. For this, I'm gonna give it 64 by 64. Actually, 64 from the top and bottom, and nothing from the sides. Uh, okay. Let me see. I don't want to do anything here. This is going to be the main content, and I will actually give it another frame from the outside. This section will be transition section. So I'm just going to call it transition, and this should be an auto layout, but this should just have its fixed width. I want to make this fill out container. I want to center it as well. And for the padding, I'm thinking first, let me actually go in here. I'm going to use 128. And for the padding here, I'm taking 128 as well. Actually, I'm taking 0 for the sides and 64 maybe, or 72, or maybe 96 even. Okay. This is great. This is what I want. Now I can give it whatever fill I want, but instead I'm going to be continuing by using this visual accent. Probably the last time I'm going to be using it, but we'll see. So I'm just going to copy the background accent and paste it right here. And I'm going to make it ignore auto layout. Then I'm going to make it centered. Okay. Not only centered, now I have to put it at the back. After that, I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to give it a fill. Okay, not that fill, but this fill. Okay. Now we can leave it like this, and it does look nice. But what I want to do is I want to actually make sure that the height fills the container. Or maybe, okay, I can make this fill the container manually. So then I could get into each of these and make it fill container so they will extend. Okay, great. This looks good already here. But what I'm trying to do now is I want a bit more separation here. For that, I'm going to be using like 224. Okay. Again, it is interesting. It is very interesting, but it's not quite what I want yet. Okay, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to change the padding. So from the bottom, it's going to be 48 pixels. So maybe actually 32 pixels. So it's going to be significantly smaller. And from the top, it's going to be 128. So 128 from the top means it is more, it has, okay, there is more space at the top, but I want to increase it even more. So maybe I could add 64 to it, so 192. That's actually great. That's actually great. So all that's left is I need to make this wider. So just fill it. Okay, great. So now this is a section on its own. Now I have to make sure that the height is not greater than 1024 because that would mean the user needs to scroll to view this transition section. So 2 times the scrolling for a simple transition section is bad. So I just have to make sure that that isn't the case, and it isn't. So, okay, great, great. So I think that's it for this transition section. I want to put it correctly here. Then I want to go in and from this, okay, so from this we are going with 64 pixels. Okay, so just the 64 pixel difference between these two sections. Now I can just place it like this. So this is currently our website, and it looks like the actual accent is continuing from the top part to the bottom part, which is a very nice touch. I really like how this turned out. So obviously next time we'll need to do some more work on this, and we can go into actual sections like features and stuff like that. Hopefully you're enjoying this. I'm really liking how this came to be today, especially. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them down below in the comments. Thanks for watching. Until next time. Goodbye. Before we start this video, I want to make sure that you know that I came here where we finished last time, and I've adjusted the spacing so that it is 224 from here, and the padding as well is 224. So just make sure to include that. This just makes it a bit more precise in its sizing. So we're going to be creating sort of a documentations section where we show the user how to use the software, the package. So let's get straight into that. The first thing I would want to do is I want to include the steps. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say install the package. This is the first step. And this will be 18 pixels and it should be white since it's a sort of a mini title. But I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to create a 14 pixels low visual hierarchy text. I'm going to make it 300 pixels in diameter and width. And this will be the description for this stage. So I'm going to say live HTML is, and there should be a space here, is currently supported only through npm. Future support for p, npm, and others is coming soon. Okay, so this will be my text for the first package, and I want to duplicate this, and I want to show the command that user will use. So it's going to be npm install or I -g parameter Daniel /live HTML. And when I have code or technical stuff like this, I want to use a monospace font. For example, my favorite one is JetBrains Mono. So this is what I'm going to be using throughout. And you know that I've been using this already here in the terminal and stuff like that. So then I want to group everything into 16 pixels. And I want to select this, and I actually want to make it fill the container on the height, and I want it to be positioned at the bottom of the text. Now I want to call this step and just make this longer. So now when I make this longer, you can see this sticks to the bottom. Also 24 by 24 padding is a must here. High content hot content. Then this one should actually be around 300, which we've already done that. Next, I actually want to duplicate this. This will be the other step, but I'm going to remove the command since we're going to be assuming that this first step is the one highlighted in the website when the user loads it. Then throughout the lifecycle of the website, this will jump to this, then to another step and so on with some sort of animation. But for the ones not currently selected, I don't want to show this. Great, so I want to make this long as well. Then I want to duplicate it twice. Okay, so we have 4 steps. And I'm gonna fill out the text. This should be set up your project directory. And I'm gonna say your project directory could be anything containing a valid HTML file. Okay. The next step would be to create HTML file. So I'm gonna say your HTML file your HTML code should contain a valid skeleton with a head and a body tag. Okay, final step. This is run live HTML. So run the package, and I'm gonna call it live HTML. Could be run with or without specifying a port. Specifying, okay. Specifying a free port here. Great, so these are our steps. So I want to select all of them, but first I want to go here and I actually want to give it the background color 22 just to create separation from them because this is the selected one again. So I want to select everything here, Shift A. There won't be any gaps, but if we say there won't be any gaps, we need separation. So especially between these two, right? So here and here. So I'm going to create a stroke 3, 4, the color, since that's what we've been using throughout. And it should be a bottom stroke. So now we have separation. Now I want to select this fill and I want to give it the color here, 19. So now everything has its own color, but this, the first one, since it's the currently selected one, it has its own background color. Okay, that's great. But what I want to do is I actually want to take this and create a stroke 3, 4, but it should be on the sides, on the right actually, since we will have some content on this side. I'm going to take this and I'm going to call it steps. Now I have this background pattern here and I have actually created a pattern BG style. So we can actually reuse it however much we want. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to create a frame and this will be the step view. So this is where we'll show a window showing how to actually use this step. Then I'm going to give it a fill and this fill would be the pattern BG that we have specified earlier. So now what we can do is we can actually take this terminal from here and duplicate it, bring it over here. Next up, this should be an auto layout. Then okay, great. Then I want to Shift A both of them. Okay, make sure that this is, which is the main content of the section, fills the full container. Now we don't want any spacing here, so I'm going to remove the gap completely, and I'm going to make this fill container on both sides. Then I want to make this longer. Okay, around here, something like this. Then I want to take this and fill the container with it on both sides. And the actual spacing here should be consistent. So 96 by 96. So this is our view, but I forgot to include, if you have like a border, something like this, you would want the border or the stroke to continue all throughout. So I'm going to select everything here, and I'm going to create a stroke, again 3, 4, but this time it should contain everything. Now I had these rounded shapes, edges, but I really don't want that because our overall style is rounded. I mean to say this is sharp, and I don't want that to be sharp. So I'm gonna go and make it 12 pixel corner radius since it's a big container, and you will see a problem in which this is overflowing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into the clip content, and I will be just hide the overflow tag. So now we have this grounded edge, which looks very nice. Okay, so everything is in place, but I need to change this content here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change it to npm i-g at. Okay, so this is actually what we wrote here. It's the same thing. Also, this should fill the container. So as much as you can when you're designing, you don't really want to use specific width numbers, values, like I've did here. So I've done 300 just to constrain them, since I don't want it to be full width. But most of the time, what you want to do is you want to use dynamic values, like hard content or fill container. That will make sure your design is completely responsive. Next up, I want to go in here and I want to change this. Since it's the package name and it should be emphasized, I want to change it to this color that we have been using here as well for uh, like terminal accents. Then I want to take these two and give them low visual hierarchy. Next up, again, using the low visual hierarchy, actually the high visual hierarchy, I want to change, right, changed 69 packages in 9 seconds. Okay, so what is this text? This text basically comes from what you actually get when you put this into the terminal. So when you write this in the terminal, this text will come out. So I want to make sure that the user knows, if they see something like this, it is intended. So now I want to go back down to and say 15 packages. First of all, I want to change my text to be the low visual hierarchy. Then I want to say 15 packages. Again, this is something that the user will actually see when he types the command in, for funding. Run. So run npm. Okay, I actually need to go down and indent once just to keep with the convention for details. Okay. Great, so this is actually everything we need as the primary content of our design. Next up, I need a headline. So we can't just transition from section to a section without having a valid headline. So I'm going to be needing that headline. So the headline is actually a very simple 2-column approach. So I'm going to emphasize what we are showing here by saying, first, let me actually copy the text from here. Okay, cut it and paste. Okay. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna adjust it. I'm gonna say left alignment. Then I'm gonna say 48 pixels. And that's it. Okay. Now I can say easily use in 4 simple steps. Okay, great. I want it to be a 2-columned headline. Next up, I want to duplicate this, not actually that, maybe this. bring it over here, and then we write what I want here, and I'm gonna say additional information, right? So live HTML is currently supported only through uh, npm. Future support by pnpm and others. Scaruso. Actually, this should be 4. I'm noticing that I've used the same text here, which is not good. So let me just change it. I actually want to say live HTML. Actually, I want to say make sure to install live HTML globally to easily use it multiple times at any directory. So this is actually the text that was supposed to be uh, in relation to stage 1, step 1, but this is some text that I'm actually including so much content here that what I'm including here is just a reminder or caution as the subheadline, and not really something descripting it, how to use the package even more. So just uh, this course is not really meant to show you how to copyright, but as a designer, having a strong copywriting skill is very important. For example, your headline should be very much well written, even if you design it very nicely. If it doesn't make sense what you have written on the headline, the users of the website would just be confused, and that automatically leads to bad UX, user experience. So make sure uh, everything is set up properly in terms of content as well. So I will actually go here, and this should be the header, and I want to align them to the bottom. Great. So now next up, I want to take these two contents, 48 pixels. Then here, I remember having 64 pixel gap there, so I should have 64 pixel gap here as well. Again, consistency. You have to be consistent in everything you design. Now, at times you could break the consistency to make stuff maybe look nicer, or I'm going to call this the doc section, maybe look nicer or more user friendly. But most of the time, you have to, everything in your design has to be consistent. Everything in your design should agree with the one that came before it. Great. So this is currently where we are after creating the navbar banner hero section, then going to the transition section, then finishing the dogs. Obviously, the dogs is as an animation heavy section, but we're not showing the animations, and that's a good challenge for you actually to learn prototyping and try to do this yourself. Now, again, remember that this whole Figma file you can access it freely through the link in the description. So you can get any assets you want. You can use the design however you want. So make sure to experiment and have fun with it. So that's all for today. I really hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment them down below in the comment section. Again, thanks for watching. Till next time. Goodbye. Before we move on to the next section, I want to actually fix some stuff here. If I click on the whole section, you can see its height is 1044, which is troublesome because a regular desktop view, you can see here, would have around 1024 height, not 1044. So it is going to be overflowing. So we need to consider that, and let's decrease the amount of height this has. The way we can do this is primarily here, just decreasing it a bit, and now it fits into a smaller form factor. Next up, you can see some overflow here, and the sizing of these steps is not really uh, proportional, or it's not consistent. So first I'm going to go to the container and I'm apply fill container. Then for each step, I'm going to do the same thing so that they share equal proportions of size. After this, I'm going to go to the first step, and this content here should have fill container on its side as well. Now they have the same space height now, but I want to change something. The first one is the currently selected one, so it would have some additional content, so it would need additional spacing. Also, to make it a higher visual hierarchy, because it is currently selected, just to get the user's eye towards it, I'm going to make it bigger. So I'm going to make it something like this, where it is significantly bigger than the others, and we can have other animations where it goes from here to here, and color and size changes with it. Okay, so that's all for the dog section. Now I could increase the height of the landing page and go to the next section. Now this next section is actually going to be the section for the live view. A live view is basically showing how the software or the product actually works. For example, here I'm going to have a text editor here and a website here, where when I change some stuff in the text editor, the website automatically just changes its content. So let's do that. The first thing I want to have is a terminal. So I can just take this, duplicate it, and bring it over here. But instead of a terminal, I want to make sure that the user knows that this is a text editor. So text editor. From the text editor, now I need to actually put my code in. So I'm going to say one. Now, if I in Figma, if I say one dot space, it becomes an ordered list where I can go 1, 2, 3, 4. But I don't want that. So I'm just going to say one space and another space, because okay, let's make it one space because it's harder to really understand without showing you. So I'm going to show you why we need two spaces. For now, let's have one space. And I'm going to write some HTML code. So dog type HTML2. I have to make sure to name each line here with its own number, or so I have to also indent them. I'm going to use two spaces to do that. So I can't really use tabs here because Figma text doesn't actually work well with tabs. So I will have to use just spaces. And we're almost done here. Just the body. 7 here should be body content. Now I also need to include a tag, and I'm going to say new changes. And here, this one isn't really an HTML tag. I just want to emphasize that the user changed something. So since this whole product works when the user changed their code, the result automatically changes. So I have to make sure that the user knows that this is the section of the code that has actually been changed. So now we can just close the body, and again I have to indent both of these, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then 10 here finally will be /HTML, closing it. Now you can see the problem. The HTML one isn't really working because there is a 2-character letter here. So what I have to do is I have to use two spaces, right? So now this will get offsets. So again, so increase one space for each element here. Now by using two spaces everywhere, I have it properly aligned. Now I want to make sure that first that this is hot content as well. So now it covers everything. Also, I need to make sure that these parts are emphasized since these are tags. So I want to use this color with them. So just I have to go into each tag and change the color. And it's sometimes hard to do this with one text piece, and you can actually try and use different text elements and just use some sort of auto layout to stack them like this, but I'm going to use it this way since it's much simpler. And for this head content and body content, I want to make them white. And for this new change, I'm going to work on that in a bit. Okay, so this will be our text editor, and I want to make it longer and wider. Okay. Now I just used random heights and widths, so that's not good, and I'm going to be changing it in a minute. But let's see. Now I need to show the actual website, and for that I actually have prepared this web view here, which is just another one of those websites like this, but I have it inside of a Mac container. So again, this is a project I've worked on some time ago. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to really know anything about this project. Just know that when some content changes here, this is going to update in real time. So if you're a web developer, for example, you would have to use this as an SVG and visibly show the changes that is occurring here. Now for this new changes text, I'm going to actually use a color directly from here. Okay, so I'm going to use this color. It's not in our design system, but we are free to use colors like this when it is in the context outside of the actual website, outside the landing page design, since this is a separate design on its own. Now, a thing you have to make sure is that the designs you use are in the same style as your website. Now, these two designs that I've used are definitely in the same style. Uh, but if I use, for example, a light background color website, or if I use something that is brutalistic, like very large text, very eye-catching stuff, it will offset it and it will mess up the visual hierarchy of the landing page that we are designing. So we have to make sure that when you use assets, the assets themselves could work with your design. Great, so this is actually what I want for the width and height of this web view. So I'm going to take these two, Shift A, and instead of terminal, I'm going to rename this text editor. And here I'm going to rename this whole section main, since it's the main content of this section. Now I'm going to use a 24 pixel gap. And after using a 24 pixel gap, I'm thinking I could have also went with a shared border, something like this. But I think since this is its own sort of uh, website, its own desktop view, I don't really need to do that. And there is good in using variety. So I don't want to always do the same thing pretty much. So it's good to change it up, experiment. You don't want the design to be boring. So in regards to the sizing, this should be completely dependent on this. So for the width, I'm going to fill container. For the height, I'm going to fill container as well. So now it is completely dependent on whichever size this is. Okay, so now I can move down and I'm going to need to use this headline and description. So for this, I obviously have to change it. So I'm going to say halt reloading made infinitely simpler. Okay, since it's becoming 3 lines, I actually want it to be 2 lines only. So maybe make it longer. Okay, great. Now this is a random size here, but I just basically want to make sure that it is 2 lines only. And it's okay to use random sizes in this case because the developer, when creating this website, could easily just put a breakpoint after the word made, and it will be easy to do anything. But if I use different sizes here, it's almost very hard. It's really incredibly hard to go into each of these and give them separate sizing. So, but this here, you can just apply breakpoints right here and it's fine. Okay, we can move on now. Also, I need to change this. So let's do that. So yeah, live HTML. So what can we write in this case that could very much define this section? So it could help with for the user to understand this section. It could be something like live HTML is incredibly fast, has an incredibly fast live reloading capabilities and will will be even faster after switching to Rust later this year. So this, if you're not a developer, might not make much sense after. So even okay, it will be even faster after switching to Rust later this year. Okay, this might not make much sense to you if you're not a developer, but basically Rust, which I want to emphasize, is a programming language which is known for its speed, and most uh, websites and actually software and command line products are being rewritten in Rust. So people might look at this and assume there will be incredible jumps in speed. So next we want to be consistent, as I always tell you. So for the 8 pixel gap here, so take these two, Shift A. This is going to be our live view, the actual view of the product in use, and this would be 48 pixels. Now, in reality, when you actually put this into a website, this will be animated where this part of the text won't really be shown until like some animation happens, and this will appear and some part of this design will change. Now again, feel free to experiment with the animations as much as you want, and using the new Figma motion. I think it's very good practice if you can try to learn Figma motion while designing on this Figma 5, which is in the description below, by the way. If you want it, it's completely free. Just try and experiment with this Figma 5. Now, host reloading, live view should be under the docs. Okay, it's something like this. Okay, maybe one. Okay, it's tricky. Okay, let me just cut this and place it here. Okay. Okay. So now I want to go here and I want to make sure that this is 64 pixels. So yeah. Great. So now we have these two sections, and these sections are very information heavy. And I think for the amount of the product that's actually in here, but this is a very small product actually. I'm just creating a landing page, a logo, so that we can learn by doing a project. But this is overkill for a product like this. Uh, this is so much information and it is quite enough. Next up, we're going to be going into the finishing stages with a banner and the footer. So those two are the ones remaining. So after designing any section, I like to go back and just look at the whole website and see the composition and how the website works together and how the user journey will go. I just start from the hero section and just start scrolling to see how a user will view this website. And if a section feels out of place, then you have to make some adjustments. And sometimes I've faced this problem, and you just take a section and completely remove it to delete the section if it's not working well. This time it is working well, but don't be afraid to make hard changes as a web designer, as a graphics designer. Don't be afraid to make changes that you worked on hours of creating. I know when creating this hero section, for example, it's been the most difficult part, and I've spent like 3 hours trying to come up with a design that works, keeps everything visual hierarchy. The biggest problem was that this section was taking too much visual hierarchy. I wanted to take the highest level, but it's it was sort of not leaving anything for this. It's kind of hard to talk about, but I've spent so many hours trying to fix it, and finally ended up with this design. So don't be afraid to make changes. Don't be afraid to experiment. And again, feel free to take this design. Uh, and please don't ask for editing request. Don't request editing because I can't allow everybody that takes the design to edit. Instead, you can actually just duplicate this design. You can actually duplicate this Figma file, and you can work on it freely and however you want in that. Uh, Again, that's enough for today. Thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye. So we're reaching the end game of this design, and next up I want to create a section called like a poster section. What is it? Okay, I want the user, after reading through everything here, I want the user to be redirected to GitHub, maybe to start a project or to just get a better idea of it. But I want the user to be able to go to GitHub after looking at everything. Now, to do that, I can't really just put a button or a link. It has to be a very important thing, and it is a bit decoupled from the rest because uh, GitHub isn't in any of these. And here we are introducing just a button, so it would be decoupled. So I want to include its own vibrant section to emphasize that the user should probably check out the GitHub page of the product. So let's start. How do I do this? Let me start from a headline. And in terms of the headline, I want to copy this. And okay, so uh, yeah, so move it here. And I want to say star live HTML on the official GitHub page. So after saying this, I want it to be left aligned. And let me just constrict it a bit. Then I also want to include a GitHub icon. And if I remember correctly, I have this apps and icons pack from the Figma community. So let me just go and grab it. You can actually just go straight to this Figma file and grab it since I will be including it. But let's see. Let's go to app and brand icons, and I believe there is under professional here GitHub icon. Okay, great. So let me just copy it and paste it in here. Uh, Obviously, I want to make this white now, so then Control Alt O. Let's make this bigger, like 64 pixels. Also, I would like to have uh, it's inside of an sorry, I would have want to have it inside of a frame, which is in also layout. So I'm gonna call this assets accent or accent. I can't speak today for some reason. The corner radius, I want it to be circular since the icon itself is circular. Then I want it to be something like 111 here, which is the same as the background. Actually, I wanted to have the press button, if you remember this. So it is going to be a fill of 222, then 3, 4. Okay, so that's great. Just fill 2 to 2 and a stroke of 3, 4, but I want to give this like a 4 pixel sort of stroke, and it's going to be outside. And the padding itself, I'm going to go 16 by 16 padding, obviously no gaps. Hard content on the width as well. Then I want to actually give it some space here. So I'm going to use the 0 glyph, 0, 0. Probably 2 is enough. So let's just get it to be on the same line, something like this. From here, I want to go into the 0 and just make it invisible and just place it back here. Maybe I don't need one of the zeros. So let me just remove one of them. Okay, let's go back. And let me just go place it right here. It's okay if it overlaps. It's an accent, so it doesn't really matter. So that's nice. Next up, I want to take both of these, group them into headline elements. So if it's on GitHub, it means it's open source. So I want to emphasize that. Let me just take text from here. Okay, I want to say live HTML is open source, is completely, okay, is completely open sourced under the MIT Common Use license, and the source code is fully accessible through the official GitHub page. Okay, so this a good bit of text describing the product's open source features. Then I want to have a button, but I don't want to reuse this button. I think this is good for the get started and stuff like that, uh, but it is uh, maybe overkill for the GitHub button. So let's actually include it here. So I want to say visit GitHub. So let's create a new type of button, is what I meant to say. Visit GitHub repository. Then I need an arrow of sorts, and instead of using an icon, I actually have an arrow somewhere over here. Yeah. Let me just cut this from here. And it is just a text, so it works very nicely. And just paste it here. So it works perfectly. Obviously, I do want to have a space just separate it a bit. Then I want to give it a 32 by 24, making it look like a button. And it should be white to separate it from the background. I'm going to give it 8 pixel corner radius, and obviously the text itself. I want to actually go to the primary color and go into a dark brown color from it. Also, the text should be semi-bold. So this is nice. This is a good looking button. Only thing remaining is to make it 16 pixels. Okay, so I want to take these two and left align them. Also, that's everything here. This is the content part of uh, the this is the content part of the entire poster section. So now let's get our grid lines and Shift A. Let them be full extension, center it. The gap should be auto, but there should be 32 by 32 pixel difference padding. Also border corner radius, and for the fill, I actually want to use this red color that we already have as part of our button design here. Now the text doesn't look good on this sort of button, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the brown color which is here. So let's just go ahead and apply it both here and here. So everywhere I should pretty much apply it. Now on its own, I don't really think looks that good. So let me just go with sort of reddish color, more reddish. Then I need some accents, and I can reuse this accent or the pattern, but I'm actually going to use a different sort of accent. I'm just going to create some lightning accents as I have previously done, but this time the back of the lightning uh, would be full. It's not going to be lightning, it's just going to be a block. I'm also thinking to have this sort of a lightning, but a bit rotated and deformed. Okay, something like this. Another one, I'm thinking of sharp edges. Okay, so something like this. Then I want to take these three accents. I want to call it accents. Accents. So all three of them are accent. By the way, let's rename this poster or GitHub poster section. Okay. This frame should be the CTA, the primary call to action. I want to select everything here and remove the stroke, give them a fill of our primary red color. So now as we bring this inside here, and actually let's paste it inside and just place it here at the back of the content, obviously. Okay, let's make this a bit bigger. I want to bring this inside as well and place it on top. Okay. Okay, very nice. Okay. Then finally this one here. Okay, just paste it inside of the selection, move it something around here. Obviously at the back. Okay, I don't think it was inside. So let's just put it in. Something like this. At the back of the content. The same for this one. And now I can actually go in and clip content, giving us this very much stylized, nice looking sort of design here. Uh, Let me just try to rotate this here. And this one, I would like to make it like this. So now this looks very nice. Obviously, you have to make sure when you do stuff like this that everything has good visual hierarchy and contrast. So yeah, so this is the currently this is just the poster section, and yeah, I think people now could reach this level, look at the GitHub content, and just decide to visit there. I think that's good enough. So obviously, yeah, that's good. Next up, we're going to be finishing off by creating the footer section. Thanks for watching. We're going to be finishing off this project very soon. Until next time, goodbye. Before we move on to the footer, we actually have to work a bit on these two design parts. One thing I've noticed is that this is overflowing, so just drag it in. That was simple. For this section, I'm noticing that it is actually uh, a bit cramped. So what I want to do here is just make this smaller first of all. Okay, and move it to the side. And I want to make this significantly smaller. Okay, so now there is good enough separation between them. Next up, I want to actually select all of the accents and put them inside of a frame. And this frame should basically have a background color the same as this. Uh, or perhaps what we can do is we can remove the background color from here and rely on the frame. So this is PG. So, and not only relying on this, but I would actually want to use the default, like this pinkish color here. So I would like to use that, the light red. Okay, now I want to go into the background and I actually want to apply some effects, mainly just the noise texture. And I don't really like the noise being this strong, so like 12. So this will give us like a very nice textured look, and it's just gonna make the poster more interesting. This also means that we can easily use this poster outside of the website itself, so it's a nice addition. Next up, let's move on to the footer, and that's gonna be the final part. So the footer is most of the time comprised of uh, around two parts. One is general information about the product, and the other, or the company actually, and the other part is just some links. Uh, but we're gonna be doing a bit more, making a fun and interesting footer. So how do we start? I'm gonna start from the logo. I need the logo to be in the footer, so I can just take it, duplicate it, bring it down around here. Okay, let's just close everything here. So this is our logo. Under the logo, I want some description of the product, of the company actually, not the product. The footer is mostly company stuff rather than product stuff. So let's just say live HTML is a Node.js. Now this, in this case, the product and the company are the same, so no need to differentiate between them. There is a Node.js package that hosts your HTML projects into a local server and uh, and with host reloading capabilities. Okay, so some text like this. So we can have it here normally. Uh, After this, we need a final call to action. Since this is the final sort of section in this whole design, we need a final call to action to just give the user the chance if maybe the user decides on using the product quite late. Most of the time, I like to have a call to action in the footer. Next up, let me actually take these, and this will be company, and I'm gonna give it like 16 pixel gap between it. And let's group this into left col, so left column, column actually. Okay, that's great. I want it to be around 32, maybe 32 pixels, or actually, let's go 48 pixels, something like that. Just to have clear separation between these two up here and the button. Next up, I want to go with the links. And the links for this are not anything complicated, but we're gonna have a couple of sections. The first section or category of links will be under the the live HTML here, and it's just gonna be some website related links. So here, let me make sure I'm using my low visual hierarchy colors and 14 pixels. So maybe actually I need to make everything 16 pixels here since they're the primary contact. So next, this is going to be just home, GitHub, docs. So just basically relating to the product itself. npm.js is where the user could find the npm.js repository of the product. So now I want to just take everything here and group it. And maybe around 24 pixel gap, which is very nice. Now obviously the user would see this and we'll try to click it maybe, but we have clear separation between this top title, sort of, and these links. So the user will immediately just know that this won't be clickable and will move on to this. So even though we have basically the same thing for everything, there is enough separation and enough usability differences to make sure uh, that this is not clickable. And you could also have some animations where the user hovers on this and have an underlined to make sure the user knows it is a link. So great. So now we can call it link group. And we can actually duplicate this. And another one would be socials. And this probably is going to be my socials since I don't really have any social setup for the product itself. So X, YouTube, Dribble. In this case, having a Dribble link and Behance link won't really make uh, any sense in reality, but uh, since it's just a footer, and in the footer you could have uh, pretty much any link that you want to get into the website. You could put in the footer. Maybe if you have too many links, that would be wrong. But as long as you have enough space, you are free to put them here because it's a general section where everything you need and you can't put into the primary sections of the page you put here. Okay, so hot content, and this should be hot content as well. Let's duplicate this, and I'm just gonna have one or two more perhaps. Let's. The first one would be here contacts, maybe to contact the creator. Me. It's primarily gonna be email, email, then X DMs and dribble DMs. These are like the best ways of reaching me, so I'm just putting them there. Okay, so let's duplicate this one last time, and it's going to be just some legal stuff, and most of the time you have this inside of your footer, because again, it doesn't make sense to put some legal stuff in your design. It will throw off the user completely, so you put them in your footer. So two things. First, the license of the actual products, which and then the privacy, and this will link to some text saying this product does not sell any of your personal information. It does not track anything, so it's just going to be a page where some text like that happens to be. So we have 4 groups. So now we can just go and collect them, and I can call this links. You can call it links group as well, but doesn't really matter. Then good separation around 72 pixels. Okay, around something like this, where we have them on both sides. Okay, great. So now I want to take these 2 parts, maybe 96 pixels, maybe make them sufficiently separated, or maybe that's too much. So, okay, let's go back to 72. Okay, after this, we can take this and make sure that everything is aligned to the top. And since this has higher heights, this will be aligned to the top. And this is going to be our actual main content. So I could call it main. Great. So also auto spacing, so we can resize it like this. Okay. Yeah, exactly like that. So just making sure. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now let's move on. Now we are missing two things here to create the perfect footer. One thing would be to have a sort of uh, copyrights, some copyrights text, and I'm gonna have it here. I have the copyrights text here, so let me just cut it from there and just paste it right here. So copyright. You just say copyrights. Uh, then the company, which is it doesn't really have a company, but I'm just gonna say live HTML. You could also put your name sometimes. Uh, then 2026, the year. Uh, I'm just showing you this because most of the time this is required from you, and but this website itself does not require copyright. So live HTML 2026, all rights reserved. Okay, so this is your copyright text. After this, can we put this in with? Okay, let's actually let me put it here. Okay, so I actually want to have this be around something like this, just giving it some breathing space. Its height should be, if I say height container, if its height is 17, so I want around 32 pixels more separation. So 49. Great. We're almost done here. The last thing I want, before actually, before that, we actually need a container for this footer. So I'm just gonna put a container around it. So now we can call it the footer. So the container should fill out the width of the page. This should be fixed, but this one should be auto layout. And make sure again this is fixed. And as an auto layout, I want there to be no padding on the sides because it is fixed and central lined. But I want to have significant padding from the top and bottom. So just placing it there, 64 pixel padding, which is perfect. Uh, and I also would like to have a fill here, and I'm going to use a darker color from the background, 0C. So you can see it is quite, it's not too noticeable, but it is noticeable enough that you know it is a clear different section. Also, I would like to have a stroke on the top with our default 3-4 stroke color to make sure it is clear that there is a separate section here. Also, I would like to position and constrain it to the center and bottom. So now it's constrained to the center bottom. So now when I resized it, it sticks to the bottom. So also let me make sure I have this live HTML logo lettering here. So I want to incorporate that. I'm just gonna place it here. Okay, for now it is not really, let me just paste it here. For now it isn't really doing much. It doesn't really make sense to have it here. But we will see how this is very it looks nice basically, and it is just the final breaking point in the whole design. So yeah. Also, I would like to have a gap here of around 32, just to give it some separation. Here, what I want to do is actually I want to select the lettering here, and don't worry, you can find this in the Figma file. Feel free to use it however you want. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and apply an effect on it. And it's going to be a glassmorphic effect. Okay, so actually I can't put a glassmorphic effect for some reason. Okay, let's see. This should be 100 effect glass. Okay, yeah, so we want to select everything. Well, here L as well. Then I want to make sure it's 100. Go black, pal. Okay, so here the glassmorphic design is applied, and you can see these glassy borders, which is exactly what I want. But to like drive home the glassmorphic aesthetic, I want to apply a noise texture to it as well. And I want it to be maybe a white noise texture. And I want to go with around 4% visibility here. Great, okay, that looks very nice. Now you can see that the L and the L on both sides actually are not visible, and that's completely fine. That's completely fine because this is a visual accent. And as a visual accent itself, some part of it's not really important uh, to convey any meaning in the design. It's just there to make the design more interesting, to make the visuals more interesting, to make the product look more professional. The only thing I'm not liking here is the amount of space here. So I'm going to decrease the padding to be 24 maybe from the bottom. So that looks very nice. So also we have to make sure that there is separation. So as I go down, since the footer is constrained to the bottom of the page, it creates good separation here. So currently it is a 45 pixel separation. So I actually want it to be 64. So what I can do is I can actually go back and increase the height. So if it is 45 now, uh, if I do minus 45, this little trick, if I do minus 45, it would be 0. And if I do plus 64 from it, it should be 64. Nice, okay. So some mathematics there. You don't really need to know much about maths to be a graphics designer, web designer, but it won't hurt, basically. So it's not even mathematics, it's just some basic addition and subtraction. Okay. Placing it here, I think that looks very nice. So when I finish a design like this, I like to go back and just see how the design looks in as a whole. Now we've been doing it section by section, but I want to see how it behaves as a whole. So we can actually just start from the top here, and I like to scroll through it. So this is a very nice design. I really like how this came to be. And I'm just imagining it in a website developed with animation. So it looks incredible as I'm imagining it like that. And the design itself here, it's very nice. So I'm really proud of this design. So hopefully you have got value from this course. Uh, I know I've said so much things, and sometimes it's hard to digest, but it's this is how you learn basically by looking at stuff, by doing it yourself, and by following along with stories like this. This how I primarily learned when I was starting out. So just it is at times it is very tiring and it is very annoying to deal with. So nothing comes to your mind. Everything you do doesn't work. It's very annoying at times until you get very familiar with it, you get comfortable with it. So just you have to push through that stage of your design development career where you don't understand anything, where nothing works for you. You have to push through that with discipline to get to the stage where everything just clicks. That's it. Thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed watching this course. I really enjoyed making it more courses coming out very soon. Again, thanks for watching. Till next time. Goodbye.